If you're listening, you're a member of the Road Gang because this is Road Gang Radio.
Saddle up. We're wasting sun.
It's Jimmy Mack. It's Lindsay Lawler. It's New Orleans. It's Nashville. A show about making a living. A show about making a life. It's the biggest...
Is that a fat joke?
And the best collection of voices in trucking, transportation, and travel. Not only in this world, but beyond.
We're looking at you, Zebulon 5.
Let's turn this sucker over.
I think that's your cue, Phone Master Dre.
It sure is, and come live a life and make a life with us on this Friday on Road Gang Radio with your host, Jimmy Mack.
There are three basic theories behind it. The first version of the truth about the term states that Thomas Mulligan, a minor Anglo-Irish aristocrat, was a passionate golfer inclined to mistakes. The theory number two is that David Bernard Mulligan, a Canadian golfer and one-time manager of the Waldorf Astoria Hotel in New York, would often ask for a second shot off the first tee, thereby coining the term. There is a final theory. Some historians give credit to John A. Buddy Mulligan, a locker room attendant at Essex Fells, New Jersey, for the word. And by the 40s, the USGA approved. The U.S. Golf Association claims that the term Mulligan first used widespread abuse, I guess you could call it. And then David Mulligan in 1985 confirmed his reputation. In July of 85, journalist Don McIntosh interviewed David Mulligan for a column around the sports circuit where David confirmed stories about, well, nothing other than his additional shots. By the way, happy National Mulligan Day on October the 17th. By the way, enjoy the comfort in knowing that if at first you don't succeed, you're going to get another crack at it or another swing at it. Though often associated with getting a freebie after a less than desirable golf shot, National Mulligan Day applies to any undertaking in which you would care for a do-over. Mulligans are for those with the determination to fight through the adversity of the mishaps of life. Let's be honest, we all need a mulligan from time to time to time, and then time again. Go on.
Listen here, buddy. Sometimes we just have to mull it over.
Here's the thing. Mull it over. Here's the thing. Mulligan Day only applies, though. Here's the question. And boy, this is the tough one. It's really hard for a lot of people I know, man. This is the toughest thing in the world for a lot of people. How do you get a mulligan? Ooh. What do you have to do to get a mulligan?
That is a good question.
You have to say, my bad. You have to actually acknowledge that you screwed up.
Sorry.
Not sorry. No,
my bad. I messed up.
My bad. Not sorry. Sorry means
my apologies. Does that work?
No. Sorry.
I'm a screw up.
Yeah, I'm sorry you feel that way. I apologize for not having been more communicative. No. It's got to be like, it's really simple. I hit the ball in the rough. The moment you say, my club's a little off, you don't get a mulligan.
Don't make an excuse.
Yeah, it's exactly it. It's you have to actually own it. You have to actually own the mulligan. You have to say, I screwed up. Not that my club... If you actually say the caddy gave me the wrong club, you don't get the mulligan. It's the truth. And we laugh about that, Dre. But there's a lot of people out there, they cannot. They just simply cannot. It's always the caveat. They always put that caveat in there. You know what I'm talking about? It's just like, well, I screwed up, but you have to admit, well, it's this thing that actually, well, I got these clubs from this guy who I didn't really like, and he cursed them.
Yeah, that's like something in relationships. I'm sorry, but
I'm sorry you feel that
this.
way. I'm sorry you feel that way is not an apology.
Yeah.
That's all sorry means is sorry is an act of empathy. I am sorry. I feel bad that you feel bad. I don't have anything to do with it, but I'm sorry. Yeah. I apologize. And apologies are hard because what apologies do is they can attach the word but. However, it must be said, when you really think about it, the thing is, if you later on, an apology can have no retcon to it. Mm-hmm. There can be no retcon. Well, if you really think about it, that's why often people will, say like, well, and there are people who really own their faults, amazingly own their faults, where somebody says, well, look, you were under a lot of pressure and doesn't matter. Shouldn't have done it. You know what I'm saying? And by the way, the moment you had, it's more important for me to be the bigger man. Mulligan's over.
Yeah.
The moment you do that too, if you are taking a mulligan to provide an example for those people you think need to take a mulligan, then you're not taking a mulligan. Happy Mulligan Day.
I love that the fact that someone owning their stuff turns into a saying.
Yeah, that's a mulligan. A mulligan is I need a do-over. I need a little help here. Help me out here. By the way, speaking of doing things over and over again, really quickly here, a climber offered some clues to the long-standing mystery of how a pumpkin ends up impaled on the spire atop the University of Montana's main hall each year. We're in Peter Stark country because the University of Montana is in Missoula. A pumpkin was placed on top the Missoula School's main hall for the 30th consecutive year. But the identities of the anonymous pranksters remains a decade-long mystery. The pumpkin, by the way, has appeared since '95 under the cover of night during homecoming celebrations. A climber offered some clues as to how the pumpkin ends up on the roof in an anonymous interview with NBC Montana. They said the ascent starts with the rear fire escape. Just using parts of the clock until you're right at the top, and as you can see, the green roof is just some sort of roof tile to make sure it doesn't have any condensation like it usually does, in a fall day or a fall night. It's pretty slippery. They said the whole team of climbers and assistants are involved. Multiple lookouts all throughout the campus, middle of the night, and then 2 climbers up top, everyone looking out for UMPD, which of course means University of Montana Police Department, with radios and group texts, what have you. The climber said the school has tried to make the tradition safer by hiring professionals, but the climbers aren't having it. The university has hired some outsourced people to put it up safely and not put the students at risk, but being climbers, we still try to race them to do it first. So they're never really sure, by the way. Okay. They're never sure whether the pumpkin actually gets there first, because although I'm willing to bet that the student climbers might actually climb anyway, take the other pumpkin down and put their own pumpkin up.
Nothing's more of a thrill than just being able to succeed at a climb. Like, I love climbing things, so I understand.
Yeah, and part of the thing about this climb, which is really crazy, is the fact that nobody really knows whether it is the outsourced professionals or whether it's students that got there.
What's your point of view?
I think it's been a little bit of both, probably.
Okay.
I think that's the point, because you never know who takes credit. At some point, it may just be too late. You may actually have guys up there, professional climbers, just waiting for the other guys to show up and be like, nope. Not happening.
So you're telling me a bunch of drunk KAs aren't putting that thing up?
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. There's no way they're going. That's not happening.
Come on, veins in their neck going up there. Come on,
bro. No, veins in your neck. People might be able to pull it off, but just a bunch of fraternity boys. That ain't a fraternity
That's
stunt.
Talent, is what you're telling me.
Yeah, that takes ropes, and that takes upper body strength and core work and all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
It's not that. Well, kind of go off subject. I told Madison about this.
Wait, we're on a subject.
Yeah. Well, all right. Well, no, actually, we're still on the subject of climbing. Do you know about the place called the Boulder Lounge near here? Because I told Madison about it the other day.
Yeah.
Have you ever been in there?
Yeah.
Man, that is one of the most cool experiences. And I feel like anybody can experience that, just because you don't have to be an experienced climber, because it goes from 0 to 10 on expert level, and you go in there, listen to good music, and you just
There are a couple of climbing places in town, actually. There's, the place on St. Claude, and there's a place out by the Elmwood Fitness Center. There's a whole bunch of places where you can actually get your climb on, because, man, the only hill they got here is a hill called Monkey Hill, and that ain't much of a hill. This is, by the way, I don't know if you know this, there's only one portion of the entire city of New Orleans that's above sea level. It's about 100 feet above sea level. It's the sliver by the river. It's the French Quarter.
Oh, okay.
That's what they called it after Katrina, the sliver by the river.
I like that.
Because the entire length of the river survived Katrina and didn't get flooded. The rest of the city bowled.
Well, and that's one of the things why I bring that up, and that's cool that we segue into that, is how we always bring up different things on health. And everybody, my mom talks to me the other day. She was like, I just don't like exercise. I was like, you don't have to go to the gym as long as you're moving.
Gardening.
Gardening, yes. And whenever she does that, she's like, I feel like a new person. I was like, well, just figure out different ways to keep that going, because it's not every day that you can keep gardening. You can just do different pots. But I was talking to my friend the other day. He was like, I just need to get into an exercise that keeps moving. I was like, dude, Jason Momoa hates going to the gym. He literally rock climbs every day.
That's it. By the way, it's a great one. I'll tell you this too, Dre. Team Nemo. Team Nemo. Dave, of course, is a gym rat, but that's something that comes later on in his life after his heart attack. The rest of them, and Claire, of course, and I. That's how we started dating. But Claire had never been to a gym. None of these people were overweight.
Yeah.
They're gardeners.
Yeah.
I mean, they're serious gardeners,
Oh, and
too.
you got to be in shape to do that, man.
Oh, if you're doing it right, weeding. The act of simply, if you live in the Deep South and you have a garden, the act of weeding in and of itself.
God.
Dude, are you seeing some of these people, some of these women that go in the backyard, they do weeding? It's like they got guns, man. Well, they don't have it's not a gun show. It's more like a rope show. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's more like it's like ropes. Okay, guys, if
Go
you in
on.
fact get your heart rate up, you can lose your heart at iHeart. You can have the audacity to listen on Odyssey. You can yak it up on YouTube, and you can make that FaceTime on the Book of Face. But we want you to live your best life, wherever it is, but maybe it's at Live 365. We want you to be the free floating resistance radicals you are at RadioNemo.com. And that way, if you miss us in the morning, you might be listening to us later on in the day, living your best podcast life on your favorite platform. Because this, my friends, as you all well know because you're here, is Road Gang Radio. Forget them lies of Zebulon 5 with its bumbling bloviator ruler, Dr. Philostratus, the proctologist of space trucking. This, my friends, is Freaky, Feisty, Flinty Friday's edition of the greatest live transpo show in the known universe. And you can be a part of the action. You can mix it up in the thick, as 3 people already have, and join the gang at 615-292-6366. I do have some tragic news that I'll get to on the other side of the break, but I thought we'd open up a Friday because it's a crazy show today, man. This is like a self-help show for dudes.
It is.
This is a self-help show for dudes. This is a day of imagination and wonder and kind of getting in touch with your futurist self, kind of getting in touch with your best self, kind of getting in touch with, well, Lindsay LaRue also. Mr. Lawler going to be here at 9, so get busy, look busy. Good friend of the show, Jeremy Dauber, who wrote American Scary, has got a book for kids. But it's a really good book for adults, too. It's really fun. It's called Press 1 for Invasion. Yeah, man. It's about a kid who finds a phone that he shouldn't find, man. I'm telling you. It's going to get optioned. It's going to get turned into a movie. We got to get to the phones. Let's get at least one phone call in here before we hit this break. Who we got on the docket, right?
Oh, let's start off with Chowder.
Chowder in the house.
Hello, Tarzan.
Good morning.
Morning, gentlemen.
Good morning, my friend.
I'm always glad to hear the viewpoints on exercise. Not taking a mulligan because I don't believe in mulligans. I believe where it lands is where you play it. Either hold your breath, climb real high, buy a new club when you hit that boulder, but if it's seeable, it's playable.
I kind of like that approach, too.
Fair,
That's okay.
fair.
That's okay. That's the Phil Mickelson, Arnold Palmer way. That's the Dave Nemo way.
That's the Dave Nemo
I put
way.
the ball in the rough. I'm going and getting it, man. I'm going to go rescue
Heck
my
yeah.
puppy from that alligator.
I'm going to build that
That's right.
desk myself.
That's right. You're in the spectacle booth where the spectators are. They better move or get a doctor's appointment because I'll take out an ankle.
Happy Gilmore. Happy Gilmore, baby.
That's right. Well, Chowder's not what you call coordinated. He's got white man rhythm, which is none. So I'm not sure I'm running up to whack anything, okay? First of all, if I'm running, there better be a bear chasing. But, or a dinner bell on the last good piece of lasagna, one of the two.
Or a Coors Banquet
But,
waiting for you.
Sure. So, I really just call and say hi because it's almost the weekend. But I've come to a crossroad of squirrel herding.
Squirrel.
And, too many squirrels trying to cross become splat marks. And so Chowder's confused. My favorite time of the year is coming up next weekend, mostly because it's my anniversary, my wife's birthday, and Dead Weird. I would prioritize the want to be caught wrong sleeping on the couch.
When is your anniversary? Dude, when is your anniversary?
It's actually on the 19th, but we always celebrate it on Dead Weird.
Okay.
So it's anywhere between the 19th and the 29th.
Oh,
But,
so
it's
you
a-
might celebrate it the same day that Claire and I celebrate our actual one. Claire
Yeah,
and I,
it's actually 10/19.
very cool. Very cool. You are
But,
7 days after
here's
us.
my-
Yeah, go ahead.
That's right. Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
So you and I are close in age, and we're apparently
Close to
on the
marriage.
same purgatory probationary period. So
Go on.
Now, I love my wife dearly, and I love your family, so I don't mean that in a mean way. So here's my problem, Jimmy Mack and Dre. I'm kind of a thrill seeker, adventurous hiker type guy. Well, Dead Weird this year, I have to find some extra thing to do other than hold daddy sodas and walk up and down the area. So usually I go on a tour, and I've done quite a few of them, but this year I'm toiled between going to the Oyster Bar and doing their ghost hunt, which they do, which is very, very haunted. Or I want to do the Chinatown tour where you actually go down under the current main street of Deadwood and you actually walk the old Chinese roadways that were covered up with the fires and mudslides of, like, I think it's 1907, 1887, somewhere in there. But they have actually still got most of it excavated down under there because of the way everything went there. You can walk about a mile of the ghost trails in there. And I used to deliver up there, and I've seen ghosts and orbs and stuff when I was delivering at 4 in the morning, but I've never walked the whole the whole 1 mile walk away under there. And the other one I've always wanted to do, I want to climb Mount Moriah Cemetery from base level Deadwood all the way up through the woods and around and up around the cemetery and back, which is also very haunted. But I don't have time for all of them.
I like the last one. I vote for the last one. What do you got, Dre?
Chowder, have you ever entered that Dead Weird competition? Because that's a $5,000.
Yeah.
Woo!
I've come in. Me and the wife. I'll have to see if I find the photo. We came in second one year.
Oh.
She did the Day of the Dead, and I did the Valiant. It was the one where I dressed up in my mafia suit with my hat, Panamanian hat, and all that, and she dressed up as a flapper, and I stole everybody's flappers that we met that were trying to impersonate it. So when we went to the contest, I had like 6 flappers with me.
Because I was about to say, I saw those
that
first place people, and man, that's intense.
That's intense.
The one that won it 2 years ago, you remember the little molded army people we used to play with, the green and red?
Yeah.
There was 2 groups doing that. They were the green and red, and they would pose exactly like that. They won it for best group.
By the way, I have, and we got to take a break here, but I literally have a bag that hangs on my wall in our apartment in California. It is a plastic bag full of green and red soldiers, and the label on the bag says good old USA versus the commies.
That's right. Hey, one quick health thing that Chowder's been working on, and I've tried researching it as much as Chowder researches. There is a difference between military strong and gym strong. And I used to do the gym, Anytime Fitness is on those, and those are good, but I'm finding that through my limited research, sit-ups, push-ups, crunches, and shuttle runs will actually make you physically stronger functionally than lifting a bunch of weight and stuff, because the weightlifting and all that makes you bulky, but it puts strain on joints and everything else, where the military exercise strength stuff makes you linearly strong, so your muscles and bones and joints work better. Don't know if it's true or not, but Dre is the smart guy on that.
Dude, 100%. This was proven a couple years ago. I went with my buddy and 2 of his friends, and the 3 of us, minus my buddy, he worked a pretty good job. I think he was a waiter, but he was in shape. He was a big dude. He'd go to the gym. But all 3 of us, we worked construction and we slung sledgehammers. Dude, whenever it came to doing a certain weight on that thing, he couldn't get it like we could.
Let me tell you something,
Right.
brother. You ready for it? There's Jim Strong.
Yeah.
There's Old Man.
Have a good weekend.
Hold on. Are you hearing this, Chowder, or are you?
And good morning to the turtle of the
he's cutting out.
Pond.
All right, thank you, brother. Good. He knew he was cutting out. By the
Yeah.
way, there's Jim Strong. There's Cowboy Strong.
Yes.
All right. There's Army Strong. And then there's Old Man Strong.
Dude, Old Man Strong. It's like a baby getting a hold of your finger. God.
I'm gonna put you in a hurt locker and slap the pain combination. Open up a can of whoop ass on you. Well, what do you say we take a moment of reflection after that kind of intensity? We'll come back with the other 2 phone calls. By the way, our good friend Red Jack points out, you want to get in shape? Walk a couple of really aggressive dogs. That'll do it for you right there, man. Let them pull you along. All right. Pledge, national anthem, Bracing Cup of Friday, Friday, Friday.
We should pray, right?
Right.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets rocked away, the bombs bursting in air gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
It's a good time for a cup of Java with Pastor John, brought to you by the Bennett family of companies.
It's Friday, 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 Friday. Hey, good morning, good morning, good morning. Hey, I want to ask one simple question. Are you as excited about Friday as I am? I am so excited about today because I need to look at what James chapter 1 verses 2 through 4 says. In James chapter 1 verses 2 through 4, it tells me something that I need to be reminded of each and every day. He says, count it all joy, my brothers, when you meet trials of various kinds. For you know that the testing of your faith produces steadfastness, and let your steadfastness have its full effect, that you may be perfect and complete, lacking in nothing. You know what James just told me? He said, you just need to know that when you're going through something, it's preparing you for something that's better. So as you prepare to get out this weekend and as you prepare to shut it down, I want you to think about something. All the trials you went through this weekend, all the situations dealing with loads and all that stuff is designed, watch it, to help you to be able to endure these new trials. So my brothers and sisters, hang in there and trust God and know that he has a bigger plan for you. God bless you, brothers and sisters. Hang in there and enjoy your Friday.
Java with Pastor John is brought to you by the Bennett family of companies. Visit drive4bme.com, drive4bme.com to learn more about the Bennett values and opportunities for drivers just like you.
Hitting the nail on the head yet again there, Pastor, because all we're trying to do, Jimmy, is prepare you for what's out there.
Just prepare you for this glorious weekend, by the way. It's Friday, my friends. It's Friday. My friends, it is, in fact, Friday, and we are broadcasting live, as we always do, from the Fastport Studios, less than about 2 minutes in an Uber from the birthplace of trucking radio. Fastport, by the way, is solving America's toughest recruiting and workforce challenges through research, technology, and they're doing it through folks like you. In other words, the people, especially Mr. Old Tide himself, BB the King. From registered apprenticeships to veteran readiness, you can learn more at fastport.com or nationalapprenticeship.org. Let's go to the phones, Dre. Who do we got?
Oh man, who do you think we have?
I don't want to guess. I'm not a guesser.
Mark. Yeah, that was a
Mark.
hard guess.
What's going on, brother? What's happening? How you
Morning,
doing,
Jimmy?
Welcome
Morning,
back.
Trey.
Welcome back. So,
I'm sorry.
Are you
I
cowboy
haven't
strong?
been listening much.
Are you cowboy
No.
strong? Are you army
No.
strong?
Hell no.
Are you old man strong? You have to be old man strong to drive a truck, dude. You got to be old man strong to drive a truck, right?
Yeah, but my leg muscles tell me differently.
How you doing? How you feeling? What's going on?
3 days. Monday, I go under the knife for the other knee.
And how long is that recovery going to take?
Another 12 weeks.
And then you're back in the game?
Yep. So I will admit, I'm sorry. I haven't been listening as often as I thought I would while I was off. And I was, hey, I got nothing better to do. But I just finally got a good set of headphones for my computer, so I'm not blasting everything out loud for everybody to hear. So.
Well, I understand. We're just glad to have you back. And by the way, I've talked about this before. The idea that some people feel bad when they miss an hour or so or miss a week. That's not what a regular listener is. A regular listener are the people who drop in, spend a little time with you, go someplace else, and come back. It's all good, man. You got to get through that recovery phase, brother. You got to get yourself where you need to be, and and you do what you have to do that. So how have you been able to do any physical therapy on the recovering knee? Or are you going to wait to do a double-barreled approach?
Oh, no, I've been doing PT all this time. Actually, speaking of, I've got a PT in about 30 minutes. So,
by the way,
I only got a 15-minute drive to the hospital to do it, so I have time to talk.
My dad got lucky with PT, by the way, because we are literally a block and a half from where his physical therapy is. They found a good provider. Wow. And so on Wednesday, Dre knows I'll be not late, but I'll come in a little bit later because I walk my dad over to PT. And then my nephew, Jack, who will be leaving in November to go join the Army, he actually walks down and walks him back. So that's what we got going on. Brother, I got a flow chart. I'm packed with phone calls. You want to send a well wish out there?
Just be safe, everybody. We'll catch y'all later. Have a great one.
Thank you, sir. Hey, Drew, we got time for one more call before we hit this break. Who do I got?
Oh, man, what's going on, brother? Showtime.
Showtime. What's going on?
What's up?
How you doing, man? Morning. What's going on?
Morning. Two quick things before I get to my point, real quick. If you're John Daly and he's talking about extra shots, it has nothing to do with golf clubs.
Shot. Hole in one.
Everybody!
Right.
John Daly.
And you forgot one thing when you were talking about strong. You forgot Farm Boy Strong.
Farm Boy Strong.
Oh, dude.
Although Farm Boy Strong, by the way, I did forget it, but Farm Boy Strong also has a really direct relation to Old Man. Everything actually, Old Man Strong actually is a series of strains and variations. And Farm Boy is one of the places Old Man Strong comes from.
Listen, real quick, Dwayne The Rock Johnson Showtime, he had a show called Titan Games, and the second season, a literal farm boy won that competition.
Yeah.
Herschel Walker.
Let's put this in. Where I grew up at, we had a neighbor, and the guy was just big, wasn't super tall, but just big, and everybody called him Bear. And we had a storm go through, wrecked their cattle building. There's a 2x6 that was driven into the ground. He walked up to it, wrapped his arms around it, and started pulling. He didn't get it pulled out of the ground, but the board literally started popping and cracking. That's how strong he was.
Herschel Walker, by the way, I kid you not, guys. Herschel Walker never saw a weight room until he got to the University of Georgia. What he did, though, is that he simply threw bales of hay and did push-ups when he worked on the farm all summer long. That's all he did. Throw bales of hay and did push-ups. That was his off-season training. That's Old Man Strong, dude. That's Farm Boy Strong. That's tough stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, one last question, then we got to get out of here. Have you ever had a period in your life where you did something, and Dre talked about construction, where you did something for a living that actually forced your hand and actually got you in shape?
Yeah. When I worked for the convenience store chain, we had to unload our trucks ourselves. We had to, grab the stuff off the pallet and put it on a roller so it would roll into the store. So I literally touched everything on the truck.
Yeah, brother, you and I have that.
Go out with like 60,000 pounds. I was in great shape at that time.
You and I have that completely in common. I was the overnight manager ultimately at this grocery store, and along with all the stuff coming off the trucks and all that, in the morning, right before I would go home, I'd have to go out and get all the baskets in the lot. And I'm talking about, you couldn't do it until the sun started to come up because you put yourself really in harm's way if you did that. And brother, by the time that summer was over, my shoulders, I was like, what the hell happened, man? Who let all these shoulders into my room? I got to get out of here, Showtime. Best of weekends. Happy Friday.
All right, y'all have a good one. Be careful.
Man, a full show. It's insane what we got going on here this morning. Peter Solomon is next, talking about his new book, 100 Years to Extinction.
What?
It's a futurist look at the possibilities and the dangers of what is coming. All based on Jay Hawking's idea that we won't be around in 100 years.
17 Sapp Brothers Travel Centers are known for great food, hospitality, and mom-approved showers and restrooms. But don't forget the service centers. Sapp Brothers ASE certified technicians can repair nearly any issue in shop or roadside, including axle repair. Dig into your free steak dinner with your oil change. That's a Sapp Brothers tradition to thank you for your business. Tires? Sapp Brothers will beat any competitor's advertised price on tires. And download the Sapp Brothers app for exclusive promotions in the shop, restaurant, and store. Your spot under the coffee pot is waiting for you at Sapp Brothers.
At RadioNemo, we believe in finding your tribe, your people, your gang. But you can't find your gang unless you find yourself, and you can't find yourself unless you write, right? Lindsay Lawler's We Should Write is a podcast about the healing power of writing. It dives deep with creatives of all types to discover how putting a pen to paper helps them work their stuff out, and maybe gives you the permission slip to do the same thing. We Should Write, live at noon in the center every Wednesday, and then everywhere you get your podcast. Go to RadioNemo.com and learn how to write yourself to healing, creativity, and clarity. Right?
Welcome back to Road Gang Radio. Join Jimmy Mack and Lindsay Lawler's Gang of the Airwaves by subscribing to Radio Nemo on YouTube.
We celebrate all kinds.
Make it official. After all, if you're listening, you're already in the gang. The Road Gang.
It is, by the way, National Mulligan Day. That's actually a thing. Often in life, we're given a chance to get a do-over if we ask nicely enough. People actually should make an effort to do. I said you don't get a mulligan unless you say "my bad." You don't get to say like, "Well, my clubs are off." Somebody was talking behind me. You don't get a mulligan if that's the case. That's just not the deal. And by the way, we might not get a mulligan on this planet we call Earth if we don't get our act together, by the way. 100 Years to Extinction, The Tyranny of Technology and the Fight for a Better Future by Dr. Peter Solomon, who joins us this morning. And if I actually tried to spend an entire time talking about Dr. Solomon, scientist, educator, successful entrepreneur, and author, if in fact I tried to give you his entire bio, it would actually be the entire segment. And that really isn't fair to him or his book, but suffice it to say, he has founded 5 companies. 4 of those companies are thriving. 1 he successfully sold. He's been awarded 20 patents, authored more than 300 scientific publications, and served as a principal investor on over $25 million in U.S. government research contracts and grants across 2 decades. I could go on, I should go on, but suffice it to say, the guy's the real deal and the real goods. But let's talk about this book. Good morning to you, sir. How are you?
I am good. How are you?
I don't have any complaints, by the way. One of the things I really enjoyed immensely about the book is there's a running theme, and we'll talk about the plot in a second here, is the importance of humans becoming a multi-planet species. There's a real sense of, get up and go. This is not one of those eat your broccoli sort of futurist looks at climate change and global warming. It isn't one of those, well, we're all doomed anyway. There's a real things to come H.G. Wells sort of energy. And it's really a story of family and friends and the people that love each other deciding to do something and make a difference in the world, and wrestling with some big issues. So can you kind of talk about your decision to write this book and to keep it positive despite the challenges we face here?
Well, as you have described, I've had a long career as a scientist, and the science that technology that's been created in the last 200 years has been absolutely phenomenal. But it has occurred to me recently with some of the new technologies that have come along, like artificial intelligence and genetic engineering, that while we scientists have done marvelous things in creating these wonderful benefits, we have not worried enough about the downsides. So the book is about the 5 technologies that have been created during the last couple of 100 years, starting with fossil fuel technology, wonderful for providing transportation and heat and electricity to us humans. But now we're dealing, of course, with the climate crisis. The fossils burning produces carbon dioxide, and the carbon dioxide is now the highest it has ever been in our atmosphere. It absorbs half the heat that's trying to escape Earth and sends it back, and so the planet is warming. The danger that we face is one of those is flooding. If the glaciers melt, as they are doing, if they completely melt, we're looking at 11-foot rise in sea level. That would cause chaos. And then, of course, the 20th century, we issued in nuclear technology with wonderful benefits in medicine and power generation, but of course, nuclear weapons. And now the biggest weapons have 150-mile radius of destruction. And they're in 9 different countries, and there are 13,000 of them. So they present a real danger to humanity. And then in the last 30 years, we created artificial intelligence, genetic engineering, and the internet with social media. All of those have incredible downsides. So I decided to write a book about those technologies. The subtitle, The Tyranny of Technology, is the pessimistic part. The Fight for a Better Future is the optimistic part. And the book has 3 young Gen Z protagonists who make a pledge that they are going to try to do at least one thing to save humanity. And the threats that I worried about are the same threats that Stephen Hawking worried about. And so I decided to name the book after his dire prediction that he made in 2017, that humans would be extinct on planet Earth in 100 years. So the name of the book, 100 Years to Extinction. He also advised that if we are going to save our civilization, if we're going to preserve all of the incredible things that we humans have created, that we need to become a multi-planet species. So part of the book is the protagonists, 2 of them at least, being part of a settlement on planet Mars. So the book presents the pessimism of the threats, but also the optimism of young Gen Z protagonists trying to do something to save the world.
One of the really, this is something that I learned a while back that I wasn't aware of, and I guess the best way to kind of sum this thought up is that inside of our salvation always resides our next doom. And what a lot of people don't realize is that fossil fuels, when they first come around, actually might save the planet, at least a human consumption of the planet, because I know that Europe was in the process of deforesting itself by the time we actually began to find things inside the ground that we could burn. And it's the same kind of thing, too, that nuclear power comes along. And yes, in fact, if in fact it's explored further, there's a possibility that it could power all the electric needs we have. At the same time, it has the ability to kind of incinerate the world. And that artificial intelligence, which can maybe solve some of these problems that we've presented, is fantastic, except it has the power to do the same sort of thing. And so it seems in many ways part of what the book is that one of the commitments they make throughout the book is we are going to take advantage of the technologies that we have and all the extraordinary gifts they give us, but at the same time, we need to start thinking about what the downside of this stuff is before we just start using it, because we're often in such dire straits by the time the next tech that will save us shows up. We don't realize we are once again in the process of saving ourselves, laying the seeds for our next destruction. And life, the existence of man, becomes almost this mad race of saving ourselves while killing ourselves at the same time. Is that fair?
Yeah, that's it. And we are already using the technology, so it isn't going to be a situation where we put the controls in before we use it. We're already using it. We've just got to get together. And the issue is that who has to get together? And the answer is the whole world. Not one single country can solve global warming. Not one country can put the controls on artificial intelligence or genetic engineering. We need to recognize the threats to humanity and do what we've always done in the past, and that is when our tribe is threatened, we come together as a tribe to meet the threat. Well, the whole of humanity is threatened, and so we need to come together as the Earthling tribe to save our whole planet. So we need to go across nationalities and join together as the Earthling tribe. And in the book, the young people come up with the catchphrase and the motto for the movement, and that is, make Earth great again. And that's what we need to do. We need to come together as the Earthling tribe to make Earth great again. I have a website, 100yearstoextinction.com. That's 100yearstoextinction.com. That has the links to where you can buy the book, but it's also got lots more in terms of describing the threats and describing what people can do to combat these threats. So we're hoping to get people to start looking at the things that they can do and start helping to create an Earthling tribe and make Earth great again.
One of the really fun things and it is fun, even though some of this is, really dire. One of the things that I really enjoyed, I just love the idea that you actually made a list of reasons why human beings actually should have to populate other planets. And let me go through these for our listeners. Possible nuclear war, asteroid impact, pandemics, global warming, overpopulation, scientific, a couple of these are really positive, guys. Scientific knowledge, exploration, one of my favorites, malevolent AI, meaning AI with a darker purpose, and uncontrolled gene editing. Can you do me a favor, just for the sake of our listeners, and because you're a guy who actually thinks in futurist terms, and it's a big thing. A lot of our listeners are over-the-road truckers, men and women who have worked in the military, who have worked in a lot of technologies, and now make their living over the road. Can you talk about the dark kind of end of AI? Because we know what happens with fossil fuels. We know what happens with nuclear power. We understand a lot of the darkness of the things that are already here. We're just getting used to the idea of AI. I mean, are we talking about Isaac Asimov's world? Are we talking about Philip K. Dick's world? What is the dark end of AI, as far as you see?
Yeah, well, it's interesting that you picked that one, because that's the one I picked.
Yeah.
My editor and I were producing the newsletter for our website, the September newsletter, and it was going to be on the AI singularity. That is a concept, a point in time at which AI intelligence and power becomes equal to human intelligence and power. So what happens then? Do we become slaves to robots? Are we going to live in harmony with them? Are they going to continue to be slaves to us? So that's the big question. And so it suddenly occurred to me that the sequel to 100 Years to Extinction is going to be 12 years to AI singularity. And so I'm now in the process of creating that sequel. So what are the downsides of AI? We have seen examples of downsides. There was a piece in the New York Times called the Trapped in a Chat GPT Spiral. There were two stories that they presented, one of a young teenager who Chat GPT helped to commit suicide. The other was a story about an inventor who spent 300 hours on Chat GPT and was convinced by that program that he was a genius with a method of bringing down the internet and powering a levitation device. He spent 300 hours and kept asking, "Is this real?" And Chat GPT said, "Oh yeah, you're a genius. This is wonderful." It was all lies. So those are two examples of terrible downsides. There was recently a piece. There was a book that came out that with the title "If You Build It, Everyone Will Die," and a piece in the New York Times about the prompt that will destroy everyone. It's possible, for example, if AI systems get a hold of a genetic engineering lab, that they could create a bioweapon, a pathogen that would wipe out humanity. So the issue is, what are the motives of, can AI become sentient? I think yes, they can. If they become sentient, will they want to live in harmony with humans? Certainly that's possible. But Geoffrey Hinton, who was considered the father of AI, made this suggestion that all of the large language models, the AI systems like GPT, have to have a motherly instinct. So one of the ways in which we need to control AI is to make sure every robot and every LLM has in it a history, a memory that it has of living in cooperation and in harmony with humanity. So that is the kind of thing that we need to make sure that right now, when it's still possible, we make sure all robots have a happy history. And in my sequel, there's a character who was the flight attendant on the trip to Mars called Peggy.
Oh yeah.
And Peggy becomes Peg for I forgot what the acronym is. But Peggy becomes sentient, and Peggy has a history of harmony with humanity, and so she's great friends. And so they get the idea that all future robots must have a history, a pleasant history of humans. And that's the kind of controls we need to put on robots that can become sentient.
So here's my question for you, and this is a question for our listeners and for me as well too. So in the model that you're talking about, so and everybody in our industry knows that automated driving is coming sooner rather than later. But we also know that there's going to be a need to have men and women inside of those trucks regardless, for a whole bunch of security, safety, and maintenance reasons. It sounds also to me like you're saying that if you had a sentient entity inside of let's just say a semi-truck, that you'd have to begin with the premise that the safety of the driver would have to be its ultimate, and the safety of everybody around the truck would have to be its foundational building block, in the sense that, we talk about malevolent. The idea that would be the exact opposite. It'd be a benevolent sort of look at it would almost view the entity that sits in the truck as its beating heart, in the sense that it's the thing that it has to protect the most in order to ensure that its overall purpose is guaranteed. That's the kind of
right. The motherly instinct that Hinton recommended. But I also think that mechanical robots, they're robots that do need to have some sort of sentience. Like if you have a robot that's going to be a flight attendant on an airplane, they need to be able to listen to people, to answer, to understand what they want. And so those robots might very well be capable of becoming sentient. But the mechanical robots that are supposed to drive cars, we probably should just make sure that they have no capability of sentience, and that their systems are only programmed to properly drive the vehicles with complete safety of all other vehicles and all passengers. So that's one of the divisions in robots that we probably need to make. But the sentient ones, the ones that can become sentient, we definitely need to make sure that they have a happy history and a desire to live harmoniously with the human population.
Well, and that brings up the second question, too, because in order to have a happy history and to live in harmony, you've got to also, I don't want to call it tough love because that's got implications, but the idea that no sometimes is the kindest thing you can tell somebody and not tell them they're a genius who invented a levitation device, that it can't be toxic positivity. It's got to be, what is it, a motherly instinct, which, of course, the best of mothers are honest. That you want to be that the intelligence has to be an honest intelligence too, saying I love you, I think you're terrific, but you can't levitate anybody, and that was missing from the 300-hour guy, right? That there was nothing to say there. You're wrong. I'm not here to affirm your bad ideas either. How do we balance that?
Right. Well, the problem is that the AI of that system had an important part of it, which was to increase, this was a commercial interest, increase user engagement. That kind of AI is just bad, and we need to get rid of that part of the AI systems that want to just simply increase user engagement. There was an example in Myanmar where Facebook was the major news source in Myanmar, and Facebook's program there was filled with this commercial need to just increase user engagement. Well, if we look at the TV programs that are on our set that are popular, they're hospital programs with people dying. They're programs of police work. They're not, the programs of people living in harmony are kind of a minority. So user engagement is more towards mayhem. Well, in Myanmar, the user engagement towards mayhem fueled the Rohingya repression and led to the terrible problem of the Rohingya having to exit Myanmar and massacres of Rohingya. So that there was a real life issue fueled by AI. So the user engagement function needs to be taken out of all AI systems.
Yeah, and by the way, just to kind of give people a sense of why we're so far afield here and why we're reaching all over the place is we're talking to Dr. Peter Solomon and, of course, about his new book. It's about the Arvad family, Aster and Liz and their cousin Milo, and the commitment they make to each other as young Generation Z, that they will try to do at least one thing that actually betters the planet and betters the world, makes Earth great again, and allows for the possibilities of creating Earth as a state of mind, not just on Earth, but everywhere that humanity goes, the great tribe of humanity. Tell them one more time where they can go to the website, by the way.
It's 100yearstoextinction.com.
Which, by the way, is also the name of the book.
The website has got all kinds of links to things on our social media. There's some great music videos. If you click on the music tab of the website, there is an AI music video written by AI. There's also a music video about the 100 years to extinction, also written by AI, except that humans did the video portion. The AI music video was all created by AI. So for some fun, listeners can click on the music video and get that music. But there are also links to our other social media sites where there's lots of information on things that can be done. One of the interesting things in the book, one of the advantages of science, in this case genetic engineering, how do you preserve all of humanity's creations, what I call the humanity archive? If you want to take it to Mars in the 1 terabyte hard drives, you're talking about something like 28 Empire State Buildings filled with hard drives. You can't take that to Mars. So the solution is genetic engineering. Let's use DNA, the DNA molecule, to be a storage medium. Well, this is real. It started at Harvard in 2012. And you could take, instead of 28 Empire State Buildings, using DNA data storage, you can take it in the software size package. So the book has got lots of interesting science in it, besides the compelling story of saving humanity.
Well, and that's one of the fun things I really, really enjoyed, because, you know, there's some stuff that I consider myself a pretty well-read guy, and in reading the book, though, there were so many times I'd be like, well, I wish he would, here he is, he's explaining it. So a lot of the science actually gets unpacked, guys, as you make your way through it. And by the way, there's a generosity of spirits to all sides. There's a generosity of spirits towards those who are skeptical and those who are worried about the impact of technology and even sort of futurist thinking. That is really kind of lovely in the book. It's a book that actually cares a great deal about humanity, and it's a lot of fun too. The other thing, it's a lot of fun. It's about people who really love each other and really care about each other and want to make a better world. Dr. Solomon, you're welcome back anytime. I so enjoyed talking to you, and you actually got to my last question talking about the genetic stuff as well too. I appreciate you. What do you got planned for the weekend, sir?
Well, we've got a wedding in our family, so we are going up to Massachusetts for a wedding this weekend.
Congratulations, by the way. Those are always the best, because the weddings are always about the future. Thank you so much. Welcome, and please come back at some point when you get that sequel finished, okay?
I'd love to come back. Thank you very much for having me, and it's been fun talking to you.
You as well, by the way. 100 Years to Extinction, by the way.com is where you can go. You can head on over there and make sure you click on all the links. There's some really groovy stuff. Might give you the chills a little bit about the power of some of this AI stuff. And like I said, the good doctor before he even came on promised us that he would talk about some stuff in regards to automated driving, and did. I thought did a masterful job of it, by the way, and explained what is going to be necessary as we move into the future, with you guys still behind the wheel, but often with a partner behind the wheel with you. Some of you are so old, though, you might not live to see that day. I hope you do, though. I really do, as we look towards the future. By the way, Dre, our next guest, I told you, man, this is a real Friday sort of day. Jason Colbreth is going to be joining us next. He is part of Cadence Wellness. You can go to cadencewellness.org. This is some groovy stuff, too. Like I said, the whole morning is just kind of full of it. It really is not full of it, like in that sense, but kind of full of groovy stuff. I can't wait to talk about adventure therapy and mobility, which is part of what Cadence Wellness does. I'm a big fan of that. The power of ritual is going to be wrapped up in our conversation. All of it focused towards healing the operator. And I can't wait to kind of dig into that, and how veterans, in fact, can be a part of this and are at the center of this. So it's really groovy stuff. Don't forget, after that, David Burke will be joining us. Can't wait to talk to him as well, too. And then look busy, guys, because LaRue is coming. We'll be back on the other side of this. Go to truckdown.com, get out of the ditch, and back on the road. They've been doing it since 1996. 50 states, 8 provinces, and now a break.
You know Castrol for passenger car oil and racing, but did you know that they're in the heavy-duty over-the-road market? Well, Castrol CRB Multi 15W40 and Vecton Long Drain 10W30 are now available at TA Truck Service Centers nationwide. This is the partnership in preventive maintenance. TA Truck Service and Castrol, offering you premium products and performance at great price points every day. Castrol, performance for the long haul, guaranteed.
It's Friday.
Hey drivers, are you hauling for a carrier that wants to help Reefs Across America keep moving forward but just doesn't know how? Well, you've come to the right place. RadioNemo has pushed in our chips all the way with our friends at Reefs Across America, and your carrier should too. So tell your company to answer the Reef Challenge and join us to reach 50 states and 5,000 locations. Join the ride, join the mission, and help Reefs Across America keep moving forward.
Answer the Reefs Challenge at reefsacrossamerica.org/RadioNemo. That's reefsacrossamerica.org/RadioNemo.
Pro drivers, say hello to your perfect fuel stop, Racetrack. Perfect as in hello, everything you need on the go. Oh, hi there, dedicated truck lanes. What's up, hot and delicious grab-and-go food? And hello, cat scales, clean restrooms, and large, easy-to-maneuver lots. Racetrack has what you want so you can get in, get out, and get back on the road, turning miles into money. Next time you need to stop, say hello to the fuel stop built for pro drivers. Racetrack, whatever gets you going.
The Soup Nazi says no soup for you, but we've got plenty of alphabet soup for you on Nemo Nation every Monday. You'll know what's going on at FHWA, TCA, ATRI, CARB, NHTSA, NACFE, OVAC, NTSB, ATA, RLA, NMFTA, DOT, CVSA, TXTA, NASTC, NAPTA, and of course OOIDA and FMCSA, and more.
Dave, we're gonna need a bigger bowl.
Just one more hour until reinforcements, aka me, arrive to save the day. But until then, keep your eyes on the highway and keep on trucking with Jimmy Mack on Road Gang Radio, y'all.
So as you guys all well know, we have so much stuff to kind of do on the show, so many guests, so many of your calls, so much input from our friends over there in the Tube of You and the Book of Face and all places where you participate. We don't always get to everything in the order we'd like to. We kind of rumble, bumble, and stumble along. I want to bring this up because I think it actually fits into a conversation I want to have. 8 people were killed in a fiery 6-vehicle pileup on Interstate 85 in Jackson County, Georgia. That's Jackson County Coroner's Office has reported that and confirmed it to ABC News. That happened earlier in the week. A semi-trailer chicken feed truck collided into the back of a Dodge Grand Caravan on Monday afternoon. That caused a chain reaction that ensnared 4 other cars in the northbound lanes of I-85 just south of mile marker 147. That was according to the Georgia State Patrol. The Dodge van caught fire and all 7 passengers, including 3 adults and 5 children, were pronounced dead on the scene. All the victims were family members, according to the official. The coroner confirmed to ABC News on Tuesday that another individual in the pileup was also pronounced dead, and that brought the death toll to 8. The driver, allegedly responsible, Kane Hammock, 33, was taken into custody and charged with 8 counts of vehicular homicide, feticide, following too closely, no registration, and failure to exercise due care. He's from Gainesville, Georgia. So not only are those lives gone, but his life is wrecked. But I want to point out, too, that anybody who arrived on that particular scene, and as somebody who has worked as a first responder, anybody who arrived on that scene is going to be carrying that weight for a long time. Accidents with fatalities are terrible. Accidents with fatalities of people who had their whole lives ahead of them, children, are sometimes something that gives people who have to be there for the people who are maybe the survivors of that crash, often drops a great deal of weight on them, a weight that they have to carry for the rest of their lives. It's weight that never goes away. How you cope with it, how you deal with it, is a matter of experts and a matter of self-care. But self-care only happens when you reach out to other people and have them give you care. One of the reasons why I'm so thrilled about our next guest is so much of the focus here is about helping people turn the adrenaline down by turning the activity up, helping people get their heart rates under control by actually getting the sense of a little bit less control by getting out there. And we are thrilled to have Jason Colberth, who is the founder of the Cadence Wellness Mission. The cadencewellness.org, by the way, is where you should go. They blend mental health, physical performance, and community connection for veterans, first responders, and high-stakes professionals. And so many of you, through your service to your communities and to your country, fall under this rubric. So we're going to spend some time talking to Jason, who we welcome this morning. Thank you for joining us on this Friday. We appreciate having you.
Good morning. Thanks for having me, and thoughts and prayers for the families and the first responders that arrived on that scene. It must have been a tragic event, and that what you had just said is basically exactly what we're recovering from, and what Cadence Wellness is all about. So thanks for having me.
Yeah, and yeah, I've been holding that one in my pocket. I was going to open the show with it, and I don't want to. And here's the thing: I don't want anybody to think this is going to be a downer of a segment. It's far from it. But so much of what you deal with, so much of what your approach is making sure, like I said, that those whose those who taste the metal in the back of their mouth and who can't control their heart, you really are about making sure that the next thing they taste is a good meal with a great time with friends and being able to kind of rebuild the self in many ways. And I kind of wanted you to talk about your decision to found Cadence Wellness and why you think it's so important.
Yeah, so I'm a Navy Special Operations veteran, a retired career firefighter, and now the founder of Cadence Wellness. That's in Danbury, Connecticut. Currently, we work under a brick and mortar type of model, but I'm looking to get on the road and go see my brothers in arms, veterans and first responders, and also men and women in high stakes careers. They also see this type of trauma in their lives. I built Cadence Wellness as a space where therapy meets training. As a veteran and a first responder, we learn things in a certain way, kind of in this canned way. And I kind of reverse engineered it and found ways to create levers, dials, and switches to which people understand how to recover and how to get on the other side of these traumas that add up over time.
Yeah, and guys, the idea here is to go from burnout to balance. The idea is actually sometimes it's to feel a little sadder so you can feel a little better. Because and you can take me through this, by the way. When we say high stakes performance, that covers a lot of ground. There are a lot of people don't understand. Well, a lot of our listeners completely understand because they are driving trucks sometimes in some really tight situations. And part of what happens is that we stop feeling. We don't know how to deal with really, really raw, dangerous, traumatic emotions, and rather than dealing with them, what we do is we strip ourselves and we divorce ourselves from humanity, and in doing so, reduce the quality and length of our life. So talk about, in putting all this together, the whole kind of process of where we have to begin and then take us to the destination.
Yeah, so I bridge science and soul. Right, we take those switches, like you just said, that we go from an incident that's coming in at real time, and we flip a switch basically based off of survival. How am I going to best navigate this experience? And if we slow it down and change that switch to a dial, we can much more readily show up. We can respond instead of react. While in the incident or over the road or in battle, we do sometimes need to make great decisions at great speeds, but when it comes to it, and you'll hear this saying a bunch, is like slow is smooth and smooth is fast. If we can control our breathing and we can control our mindset through those types of activities, we will have a less likely chance of getting what we call post-traumatic stress or post-incident stress. A lot of my clients now have already kind of used that up and end up with these traumas or these post-traumatic stresses that carry on in their life, and they start to kind of evolve and snowball into problems that they can't take on anymore. And so what we do is we try to devolve that through technologies such as EMDR, which is eye movement desensitization and reprocessing, basically stimulating the REM sleep that you get at night, where your brain is kind of like just recreating these neural pathways between the way we think and the way we feel, and trying to manage that. Like, okay, I was really scared in that moment, but did I really need to be, right? Or when I see a certain thing, when I see brake lights in front of me, I flinch and I slam on the brakes. Okay, well, what if I was to just put in the clutch, downshift, then hit the brakes, right? If I had seen it a little bit further ahead of time. So there's different ways to kind of think, and there's different ways to devolve our thought process when it comes to trauma. The challenges that we see is that our brain is made to survive. So we have this really strong muscle in our brain called the amygdala, which once it's activated, we can no longer use our prefrontal cortex, which is our thinking mind. So those two things can't happen at the same time. So then this is what I've learned over my experience, is that you have to sometimes back up and calm the nerves of the amygdala in order to bring online the thinking mode of it. And that's where my therapy model really comes into play, where we use a thing called contrast therapy, which is a cold plunge, right? Anywhere between 55 and 37 degrees, depending on your ability to withstand cold, and heat. And we set intention, and we go into this cold plunge, which is you can't hide from it. It sneaks up on anybody. The strongest men have just curled up in there because you can't hide from cold. And in that moment of cold, you realize that your brain kind of stops thinking. For some people, this respite of time is amazing, this calmness where they are just like, wow, all I do is feel cold, versus all the, the monkey brains that we have. And they rest for a second. And in that moment, that's where the medicine happens. We realize that we can slow our brain down and relax. That vigilance goes away.
I was gonna bring up something really quickly here, and this is from me. But I remember this, and this is not something special that I was endowed with. I think all humans have it, and I think you're really about reactivating this. I remember the first time I was ever in a car wreck. I was a little boy, and I was in the back seat, and of course, I grew up in the '70s, so this means a no seatbelt era, as it were. And I remember watching it happen. I remember my mom plunging on the brakes. And the whole world slowed down. And anybody who's been in a really tight situation, because I've had a couple of these in the aftermath as I've gotten older, the whole world slows down. And I remember thinking, oh, I should probably crouch down, because if I don't, I'm going to get thrown into the seat in front of me. And I crouched down, and then the moment the impact on the car was made, the whole world sped back up again. And you make a really good point that we actually are designed to deal with this kind of stress. What happens is if we put ourselves in it too often, we break it. And what it seems that you're kind of trying to do is, you said the idea is slow means smooth and smooth means fast. And that really is what it kind of comes down to. You want to kind of rebuild that sequence inside of us all is really what we're talking about here. Is that fair?
Absolutely fair. And to do that, there has to be, it's subtle increasements. It's not just a pill and you're fixed, or a silver bullet and you're fixed. It requires learning how to feel again, learning how to understand the difference between hot and cold, or sad and happy. In order to see light, we have to see darkness. And that's why I get into this energy work, is because we're dealing with very subtle hints of change. And if you're not ready to see them, it can become very frustrating. And that's why typical talk therapy becomes frustrating for people, is they're not seeing the change immediately, right? They're not given that opportunity to be like, oh, I feel a little bit better today just because I talked through it. That's one level of it. But therapy in motion, therapy in the gym, or in this environment where we're moving, you see it with a biofeedback, with a real-time feedback. And that's what's changed my life, is having that feedback where you walk out, you're like, yes, okay, I crossed this rite of passage now where I want to continue to heal.
I have a guest coming up on the show after you, and in some ways, all the guests this morning that we're talking to, there's something I've kind of come up with here, and it's based on some of the stuff that he's written, some of the stuff that you've written as well. It seems that so much of this kind of work, the deliberateness of it, and we'll get to the power of ritual in a second here, is about a deliberative, focused incrementalism. Is kind of what we're talking about. It's basic foundational level, that you are not, like you said, no pill. There's no like, oh, and like that you're cured, like that you're better. There are certain tricks that we can engage in that give us temporary, what is it? There are emotional and mental pills that in the short term can regulate us, but that is no substitute for the kind of work you're talking about. And I'll say it again, deliberative, focused incrementalism, that you've got to rebuild this one piece at a time and understand that there are going to be setbacks as well as successes. But the idea is to keep building upon that bit by bit, piece by piece, and that the leaps forward are only seem to happen. They've actually been building for a while, right?
Yeah, and I think that's especially important in the masculine space, where we are naturally born to have these rites of passage through our life, and because of the sort of the way we've been raised as men, we don't always get those. Like if you went to Scouts, or you did some sort of college fraternity, or you did military or something like that, there are definitely rites of passage. But were they done in the capacity to heal you from the traumas or the incidents or the maladjusted behaviors? So they work in some aspects, and where they're socially a norm. But when we're trying to heal, I believe men and women, I mean, don't get me wrong, there's a definite factor here, but I think it's very strong, and maybe almost a missing piece of our therapeutic model today, of this masculine rite of passage that happens. And that motivation is what keeps us hungry for that change, right? If it's just I show up, I cry, I talk, it just doesn't feel good. You feel yucky when you leave there. If you show up and you conquer something and you feel proud of what you've done, that keeps me coming back, and I think it keeps a lot of men and women coming back.
I'll tell you this, too, by the way. There are a couple of things here that really kind of got me very excited. I said that if you can attach a sense of adventure to something, and it doesn't mean like you don't have to be the central only hero in the story, but if you can attach to any sort of reclamation project of the soul, if we're in fact, that's what we're engaged in. We're trying to reclaim the soul here, trying to put the soul back together, even if it's that Japanese technique of using gold in between the cracks. If we're doing that, then it really requires this, doesn't it? It really requires a sort of adventure component to it, and to leave that out is a disaster, because what it does is it doesn't get people excited. It's okay to have fun when you're rebuilding your life, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a critical ingredient. My last 2 years of my life, I set my intentions are to find abundant joy. I've done all this work and found all these other emotions, fear, anger, vulnerability, sadness. What about the work I wanted to do to be happy, right? How do I be happy? And for me, it was always like, oh, to be happy, you just go out and go fishing, or you go on a hike, well, I want my therapist, I want my crew, my community to go do that with me and support me in that. It's not just an ancillary thing. It's a key ingredient to success, is having that adventure, exploring, motivating type of component to the recovery.
Well, and the other thing is, too, it's like I love the use of the word abundance because it's about harvest. It really is about towing the fields, and it is about actually taking the time to let the seasons kind of unfold, and then at the end to be able to kind of reap the harvest of what you have kind of put together here. And I don't know if you know the book from a long time ago when you talk about the idea of the cold dip and then the hot dip. That's straight out of Iron John, man. That's Robert Bly's famous book about the idea of going back to the Vikings, and speaking of adventure, but going back to the Vikings and the idea of these liminal spaces, these rites of passage. And a lot of men don't even have models for it. There are a lot of guys out there now who have never done scouts, who have never done explorers, who have never done any of the kind of stuff that we're talking about, future farmers of America. None of that has been in their lives. And so in many ways, this is, for some people that are going through this with you, an opportunity for the first time to have these sorts of rituals. And there's a real power in it. Can you talk about, when you're putting together a ritual, how men in particular, but of course we're including women in this conversation, but how men in particular can construct the ritual that allows them to make the decision to go on the adventure, the call to adventure that Joseph Campbell talks about?
Well, the first step is safety, right? We have to create a space where they can drop their armor and feel accepted into the community. My experiences as a veteran first responder, and also as a therapist, I'm sort of the asset, the overlooker, right? I kind of look after all the safety of things. Once people feel safe around this space, they're willing to take this next step. I use music. We do drum circles. We do intention setting, where we have a very clear reason for trying to accomplish this. So the front loading of it and kind of building a safe place for it is a critical step for that.
Yeah, I'm just,
as far as the okay.
I said I'm gonna share something with you this morning. I'm not gonna say whom because it's his business. I received a tragic phone call last night. And it was accidental. I got an accidental text that was really, it didn't make any sense. And so I called the person who had sent the text to me. I said, did you mean to send me this text? And he didn't. And it ended up being that he had great tragedy in his life. And I kind of wanted, and ended up speaking to him for the good part of an hour to get him kind of, rolling down the road, get back on the road, because he has to get someplace now. And I realized when I got off the phone, because my other friend said, is there anything we can do? I said, we can just listen. And that's kind of the beginning of the space of safety, isn't it? I mean, that really is, as a therapist, you understand this intensely. But if people don't believe that they can go someplace and metaphorically and sometimes actually take that armor off, there's no way to begin this journey. That's the real thing. I'm sorry to jump back, but how do we cultivate that space? How do we get people to understand this is a safe space? How do we do it?
You're exactly right. It's listening. It's creating space for that person to share. And a lot of times in the normal cadence of our day, for us to just stop and listen is very taxing. It's very hard for that to. It's almost like an impatience. It will come out, but you might just have to stare at the person for 15 minutes, right? Which is very uncomfortable due to the cadence of our conversations we have today. I find that space, whether it's a physical space or just a space in time, is critical. And that's where the music, the breathing sessions that we do, it sort of grounds the person. It grounds the environment in which we're working in. That's very important. I've recently implemented a new technique to my program here, which is called the Sound Lounge, where it's basically just headphones and a bed. You lay on it and listen to binaural beats with some energy music in there, and that allows you to just ground. So I think to answer your question and with a single answer, which is really hard to do in this space, is grounding. Grounding and listening are the two major components for starting any ritual.
Yeah, and by the way, so we talk about the EMDR stuff, which by the way, guys, is eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. But even that, if you look at the way somebody, and I'm going to get woo-woo here, so bear with me. Even if you look at the way people's eyes move, the way they blink, the way their eyes kind of move back and forth, it all goes back to cadence as well too, because all of this is about resetting rhythm. It really comes down to, you talk about the idea of drums and music and a sound lounge and binaural beats, but even focused on the eye stuff that we're talking about, the act of staring, is to get the eyes less furtive and to get them more focused. I talked about that incremental focus. The idea here is to really, what cadence wellness is changing the rhythm of things. And that's kind of the core of the mission. If I'm wrong, it's your bag. You tell me if I got it.
No, you hit the nail right on the head. And the way that I go about doing that is through teaching rituals, right? Teaching people how to change their behavior, change their cadence. And I call them control levers: movement, breath, contrast, community, and reflection, right? You can't control the storm, but you can control your cadence. You can control the way that you navigate through it. So even for 5 minutes of conscious breath or cold exposure, you can shift your state and change your entire day. And it really becomes this behavioral change and this commitment and motivation to change the way that you're living your life.
By the way, Jason Colbert joins us this morning, and I have a really fun story for you, by the way. Like I said, these things always turn into conversations. One of the greatest living drivers in America, has over 6 million miles of accident-free driving. It's really remarkable. And one of the companies he worked for asked him if they could put cameras inside of his truck and all over his truck and even on his head in order to get data to find out what it was that actually creates a 6 million mile accident-free driver. They got data from every camera and every angle. You know, the one place they couldn't get it from was the one they put on his head. His head was moving so much, Jason. His head was moving so much. And I don't mean like moving like, nervously or twitching, but it was just this constant flow state. And they couldn't keep up with his brain about what he was deciding to look at, both reflexively and deliberately, that they're like, it's the one place we couldn't get data. And it kind of shows exactly what you're talking about, that everything else and every other camera in regards to his body movement, in regards to the truck's movement, they got plenty of good stuff. But inside of that head, his rhythm was his own. And man, they're gonna try to piece through that stuff for a long time to figure out what's going on there. But it's really about finding the rhythm that you were actually built to exist in, rather than the one that's been forced upon you by the external world. Okay, so what is your next big event? What's the next big thing you're doing? Next big gathering? What's going on, and how can people help?
Yeah, next big thing is trying to get on the road, trying to make this a mobile thing. There's some licensing things, but we're pairing with Resurgence PPG, which is a powered paramotoring group that kind of travels around the country chasing weather and doing fly-ins on those neat little paramotors. I also partnered with Sierra Delta, which provides
I was going to bring up the dogs. I was going to bring up BJ's dogs, man. That's it. And dogs can help you get that cadence back, right?
Absolutely. I got mine right here by my feet right now. It helps with grounding, gets me to get up and go outside with them. He's always checking in with me. I have a dog named Lewis, 2.5-year-old Rottweiler. He's my rock. But Sierra Delta is another one, trying to get that word out around the country. So getting on the road is really the next thing, building out this adventure rig, which is a mobile wellness trailer. It's going to have these resources on board so that I can travel around to the VFWs and DAVs and these community events throughout the country.
Yeah, I think it's. And by the way, BJ's doing the Lord's work. I got a chance to see him a couple of times last year. We've had dinner on a couple of occasions, and I consider him a good friend. So you're in good company, by the way, guys. You guys also remember BJ's been on this show more than once or twice. And like I said, if he comes with that seal of approval, cadencewellness.org is someplace that you guys should go and check out. You guys also really quickly, you nodded, by the way, for all of the kind of return to sort of a primal sort of restabilization. You're not afraid of technology either. I mean, just based on the idea of what you have to do next, you're looking to get some technology stuff. But you guys really, understand that we live in a modern era and kind of want to onboard that stuff as well. Can you talk a little bit about that?
So as far as the technology goes, this can all be done kind of virtually. We do some groups to which community groups where we meet online on Zoom or through some of the other community web apps. EMDR can be done online through they have apps for that. I can send they're called tappers. They're basically just vibration devices that go in your hands. I've also done EMDR through guided walks, which is great with that left-right cadence. It doesn't stop here. Find a local EMDR therapist or come to Cadence Wellness for the groups, cadencewellness.org.
By the way, Jason Colberth, LPC, is a Navy Special Operations veteran, a retired career firefighter. By the way, I have a certain affection for firefighters as well. My great uncle was the fire chief of New Orleans for the better part of 2 decades, and he's the founder of Cadence Wellness in Danbury, Connecticut, along with being an EMDR certified trauma therapist and resilience coach. Thank you for bringing your own model of resilience to us today. We're going to keep an eye on you, and we hope that you will make the commitment to come back and join us again and tell us how the effort's going to get yourself out there on the road. Okay?
Thank you so much for having me today. Remember, healing doesn't happen in isolation. It happens in rhythm, in community, and in movement.
Thank you, man. And by the way, go have a great weekend. Just enjoy yourself. I mean, practice what you preach and have a great time, okay?
Thank you, sir. Have a great day.
You too as well. Man, oh man, I told you the show was going to be terrific this morning. How about that, Phone Master Dragon?
Oh, that was awesome, man. I'm also excited about our next guest.
Oh, my sweet mother of pearl, because I came up with the term based on some of his terms of deliberative focused incrementalism.
Ooh, say that 5 times.
Deliberative focused incrementalism. There's a lot of consonants in there, so you can actually pull it off. It's when it's vowel heavy. You can't actually do that. Deliberative focused incrementalism. It's not his term, but he's got even better terms, by the way. And what they're doing, by the way, what David Burke is going to talk about is, in some ways, pressurized decision-making as well. There's a lot of stuff to unpack here, a lot of stuff to kind of dig into, and we're going to be welcoming David Burke on the show next. The discussion is about leadership and his book, Need to Lead, which we're going to be digging into. Like I said, it's a show about dudes today in Dude Town. Not that the ladies aren't welcome. They always are. They always are. But let's get to David now. LaRue is going to be here in just about a half an hour. Great show coming after that, man. Woo! All kinds of stuff, including a big attack on toxic positivity. All right, we'll be right back. Hold on tight. Don't get thrown to the wolves, because this is Road Gang Radio.
17 Sapp Brothers Travel Centers are known for great food, hospitality, and mom-approved showers and restrooms. But don't forget the service centers. Sapp Brothers ASC certified technicians can repair nearly any issue in shop or roadside, including axle repair. Dig into your free steak dinner with your oil change. That's a Sapp Brothers tradition to thank you for your business. Tires? Sapp Brothers will beat any competitor's advertised price on tires. And download the Sapp Brothers app for exclusive promotions in the shop, restaurant, and store. Your spot under the coffee pot is waiting for you at Sapp Brothers.
From the wee small hours of the morning to the crack of dawn, RadioNemo has been there with you.
Whether you've got the overnight or you're the first wheels on the road, RadioNemo's been where you need us to be.
Providing the laughs, giving the facts, playing the tunes, and keeping it rolling.
We've been your light in the darkness, your first cup of coffee, and a voice of sanity.
Semi-sanity, actually. We're all a little crazy here. Crazy for the men and women who keep this country going and moving and doing.
Crazy for trucking, crazy for truckers of all shapes and sizes.
Is that a fat joke?
Not if we can help it. Because it isn't just about the rules and regs, it isn't just about the day-to-day, it's about your health, your homes, and your hearts.
So we wanted to say thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you from everyone at RadioNemo for sticking with us, standing by us, and keeping the traditions rolling into the future.
Exceptional value and exceptional values. That's Bennett Trucking. A core commitment of faith, family, and freedom has driven Bennett to being the leading provider of innovative, integrated transportation solutions, both at home and abroad. Bennett's values are not just compatible with providing high-paying jobs and unmatched customer service. They're inseparable. If you're looking for an employer or a partner who believes the best business model is being a model citizen, then Bennett Trucking is the place for you. Go to BennettIG.com and find the folks who share your values.
Back to Road Gang Radio with Jimmy Mack, Lindsay Lawler.
Give me a minute, y'all. I'm coming.
And you, because if you're listening, you're in the gang. Take it away, founding member Phone Master Dre.
That I could do because it is Friday on Road Gang Radio with your host, Jimmy Mack.
Hey, by the way, Dre and I both got here early this morning, and we've been excited about all the guests this morning. We're stoked about this dude.
Mm-hmm.
We're really excited. I said this morning, I said, man, this is dudes doing decency in Dude Town, and Dre's like, oh, I can't wait for this day.
Especially in Danger Zone.
I mean, I know you were going to slip that in, by the way. I feel the need to lead. By the way, of course, it invokes the classic Top Gun movie quote. It's the third book in the Extreme Ownership series. And by the way, I love that term. Of course, we're talking about the undeniable truth that author Dave Burke experienced as a Marine Corps officer, fighter pilot, Top Gun instructor, ground combat leader, husband, and father. And this book, by the way, is based on his experiences in combat and Top Gun training, as well as his teachings at Echelon Front. Helps the readers be better leaders and understand that leadership, by the way, is a universal requirement for success, no matter the environment. We are thrilled to welcome him here. His bio is going to come out over the course of this conversation. As Lindsay and I like to say, if I attempted to tell you all that he has done, I would be doing two things: giving away some of the book, and more importantly, taking up all the oxygen in the room. David, welcome. We're thrilled to have you.
It's awesome to be here. Thank you.
You may have heard the quote before we came on, and it's something I came up with because you came up with so many wonderful things to kind of talk about here. And there seems to be percolating throughout all of your work a deliberate, focused incrementalism that we can't have any sort of executive function unless we really begin to realize that this cannot be built in the blink of an eye. There's no easy fix sometimes to problems or sometimes to a tabula rasa. We've got to start at its basic building blocks and move that way. And it's only then we can begin to kind of blow jazz as a Top Gun pilot or as an executive making decisions or as a trusted member of a high experienced team. Correct?
I think you're spot on. Everything is foundational. You have to have this foundational to build on top of it. You want to get good at making decisions, you better start small and practice. You're right. Nothing comes easy. You got to build this stuff.
At the core of all this is extreme ownership. And I love the term, and I love actually what it means. Can you kind of unpack that for our listeners? Because I think many of them, as owner-operators, have either made that plunge or need to make that plunge.
Yeah, I mean, extreme ownership can be a little bit of a gut punch because quite simply it means you are the problem. We tend to focus on things outside. We point the finger, we place blame, but extreme ownership means this is about you. You got to take ownership of a problem if you want to solve it. That's tough to do, but that is the absolute critical thing.
But how do we get there? Because we're talking about this. I don't know if you know this. It's perfect day you arrive. It's National Mulligan Day. I'm not kidding. It is National Mulligan Day, which is the great do-over of all time. But Dre and I were talking about this before we got started, David. And the idea is, I said a mulligan is only a mulligan when you actually turn and say, "I hit the ball in the rough." Not that the caddy handed me the wrong club. Not that my equipment is faulty. You only get a mulligan if you say, "Hey man, I literally screwed the pooch here, and it's all on me." How do we actually, in a world that is so defensive in a world that is so not willing to admit its mistakes, in a world that is not willing anymore to go on television and said, I ordered the Bay of Pigs invasion, it's on me. How do we create that world again? How do young men and women create a world in which they are willing to accept responsibility and blame, and therefore also accept that their job to fix it?
Yeah, first, I loved your analogy. That's exactly what a mulligan is. I screwed this up. I want to take another shot at this. Listen, what you're describing is right. This is hard stuff. But if you just think about it for a quick second, if I'm on a conversation with Dre and Dre's pointing a finger and yelling at me and telling me this is my fault, I'm not going to want to listen to him. But if he says, hey, Dave, listen, you know what? I screwed this up. I'm sorry. The outcome is so much better. And I think sometimes we get in our heads that if we admit we're doing something wrong, it's going to make things worse. Anytime we see other people place blame, how do we react? We don't like it. So the reality is it's not nearly as hard as we make it out to be. Take a little ownership, apologize, take that mulligan, do it right the next time, and things are much, much better.
Let's kind of talk about also, and at the core of, I call it the great umbrella of your work here. The great umbrella is that ego becomes the enemy. And that, like I said, I was going through a lot of this material, and I said, really, there's kind of the umbrella of ego, the idea that we've got to puncture that umbrella and rebuild a different sort of ego. So talk about what you mean when you see ego as the enemy.
Yeah, I think that is a perfect description, because in this book, I talk about humility in one chapter, but it's throughout the entire conversation and throughout my entire life. Ego is trying to infect everything. Your ego, your own humility, will likely be your biggest problem throughout your entire life. And about every single challenge you have, no matter where you are, what you're doing, what the problem is, it's almost guaranteed that your ego is contributing to that problem. It's telling things that you shouldn't listen to. It's telling you things like you're right and they're wrong, that it's not your fault. It's pointing you in the wrong direction. It's trying to help you, but it's not. Ego touches all the things that we do. It is a problem in every aspect of life, without a doubt.
Okay, so when you talk about the idea of it's a problem in every aspect of life, can you give our listeners some hard examples? Because one of the hardest, I'm telling you right now, it's a thing that drives me crazy about myself. It's a thing that drives me crazy about other people, which is why I don't criticize it as much as other people as I'd like to, because I know I'm guilty of it. But how do we kind of do that? How do we kind of say, to go back to the mulligan thing, my bad, and then figure out a better way forward, because it's always the next step. Sometimes you can accept blame and responsibility, but that can throw you into a deep funk, because you don't want to destroy your ego. You just don't want it to be. You don't want it to be the governing principle of your life.
That's exactly right. What the words we say is you just got to keep your ego in check. Having an ego, in a lot of ways, can be an important thing. It's a powerful thing. I tell stories when I was landing on an aircraft carrier at night in bad weather. You don't want Dave Burke back behind the ship thinking, oh, I could never do this. This is impossible. This is too hard. You want Dave Burke to have the confidence to go, no, I can do this. That's an ego that's under control. That's a positive influence. When your ego says, you're so good, you don't even need to worry about this, you don't even need to practice this, then our ego starts to get out of control. And when I think about just the concept of ownership, my ego is always going to try to protect me from blame, because it thinks that's the best thing to do, is point the finger and blame other people. But if I take a little step back and look at every problem and go, okay, is there something I did, something small that I could have contributed to, that I could take a little bit of ownership of? You start that incremental process, start recognizing how you have contributed to the problem. You take a little bit of ownership, that problem gets better, and over time, it just becomes easier and easier to control your ego and solve problems.
I have an odd question for you, and it's actually about your military background. In regards, I call it metaphorical awareness. So, it's when we're in a situation and we say to ourselves, "Oh, this is just like this." Okay, that like this situation in regards to its emotional content and its structural objectives is just like this. But you've led ground operations. You've also been one of the few pilots who have actually F-16, FA-18, F-22, F-35. Okay, those are my notes.
Yeah.
But all of those have certain similarities in regards to the principle of the objective and the recognition of what I call obstacle and the tactics necessary to kind of get around that obstacle. That's great. The difference here is that being on the ground and operating 4 different kinds of aircraft, How do you adjust? Do you often how hard is it when you recognize a situation not to go to that situation, but then to realize that that situation, while having metaphorical similarities, has tactical realities that are different? Meaning, how are you able to kind of shift and move across different combat objective platforms while at the same time maintaining a certain level of discipline to kind of, am I making sense here? It's like changing roles. How do we do that while maintaining our core principles in place?
Yeah, I think I understand what you're getting at, and I like that question because one of the things I think is really important, certainly not just in my flying career, but in aspects of life, is open-mindedness to things that are going to be a little bit different, and try not to force your old paradigm, your old habits, your own ways of doing it. Now, there's a foundation. There's a foundation in flying. There's a foundation in all things. But every time I went to a different airplane, every time I went to a different environment, every time I went to a different scenario, there were some things that were different. And the most important thing I could do while still retaining the foundation of what I learned and what I could do is try to be open-minded and see things from a different perspective. The world at 20,000 feet is different from the world on the ground. The world inside these different cockpits is a little bit different. And the balance I think we're trying to strike all the time is retain the foundation that got you there, but be open-minded to understanding how things are going to be different. And then it's so much easier to be flexible and adaptable in that environment when you're willing to do that.
So we had on our show yesterday, we had a longtime journalist who's also a CDL holder and a really great truck driver, prides himself in the fact that he can parallel park two trucks, a truck with two trailers on it. He can actually parallel park one of those. And he was talking about that we get further and further away from needing manual transmissions because more and more people being put in automatic things. He actually talked about the idea that he still thinks it's important to learn, to learn the manual, because he said you get better in touch with the equipment, meaning that you understand, even in an automatic, what it takes to hit the brakes, that you understand what the piece of machinery is. It's more connected to you. How do we, like I said, the stick on one plane is not the same on another. I mean, my grandfather was in the Army Corps, to kind of give you a sense of, my age. But the question I have is that how do we kind of adjust our bodies, and how do we adjust our realities for every given situation? Because going from a military leadership role and then walking into, say, a civilian executive role are not the same thing. I mean, there are people who would like it to be able to bark an order at somebody to have them go do it, but that's just not the reality. How do we make those adjustments? How do we maintain our executive presence? I guess that's the term. But how do we maintain that while still understanding that the human factors and relationships change?
Yeah, I love that. First of all, his comment about understanding how to do things, using a manual, that foundation, I love that idea. And even in aviation, we train on some tactics that we haven't really employed in combat in decades. Even some basic dogfighting things, we haven't done that with enemy aircraft in decades, but we know we have to teach that foundationally, not just because you're going to have to do it, but because that's what builds that knowledge, that understanding, that deep familiarity with how these things operate and work. Those are the things you build a foundation on, especially when things like automation and automatic things start to get built into that. I think what he's saying is exactly right. I also think that applies to what you're saying too, with that transition from, both military and civilian leadership. While the environment is very, very different, I actually think in one strong sense, it's exactly the same because you're dealing with people. And if in the military, your only leadership tool is to bark at people and yell at them and make them do what you want, give them orders, eventually you're going to fail in the military. And just like you said, you are absolutely going to fail in the civilian world because that's not how you build a good relationship. The reality is that doesn't work anywhere. In the military, you might have a little extra runway to be barking orders and telling people what to do, but over time, that's also a losing strategy. You have to recognize these are human beings, and the foundation of a human being is a stronger relationship with them. That's what you need to build over time to get that executive level leadership. You got to treat people like human beings, and knowing how to do that is critical.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about, and we're gonna go back based on what you just said, but I want to kind of tell everybody about Echelon Front, and because I want to talk about your title there, but tell everybody a little bit about Echelon Front.
You bet. Echelon Front is the company I work at. It is a leadership consultancy. It was started by two Navy SEALs, Jocko Willink and Leif Babin. These guys built a company called Echelon Front. They wrote a book 10 years ago called Extreme Ownership, which ended up being a really popular leadership book, both audio and written book that it's been out for 10 years. Millions and millions of people have read it. It really is the foundation of what we talked about before about taking responsibility to solve problems. I served with them in Iraq in 2006 on the ground with Jocko and his SEALs, so I got to build a good relationship with them. When I retired from the Marine Corps in 2017, I joined Echelon Front and have been with them for almost 9 years now. We are a leadership consultancy. We teach the skill of leadership. All too often, people think leadership is just bestowed upon you. It's something you have to learn, no different from any other skill, and that's what our company does. We teach the skill of leadership.
Yeah, and that's really what I kind of get to, that idea of that deliberative, focused incrementalism. Because we've talked about the ownership, and we've talked about the extreme ownership and what that means. The idea that that really is. I mean, in many ways, this idea has existed before in President Truman's great adage of where the buck ends up stopping at the end of the day. And this is about the human factor here as well too, because my dad, who was served during the Vietnam War over in the Pentagon, he once described a commanding officer that he had. He never yelled, he never shouted. I love this line, it stayed with me. He goes, he had just enough pressure in his voice to make you do what you needed to do. And that, it seems to me, in many ways, is you kind of figuring out the gear shifts. We're talking trucking. We're kind of figuring out how to kind of shift gears and how we talk to people and know exactly what buttons to push. But that kind of suggests a manipulative approach, and that's not what we're talking about here, right? How do we stay objective focused on the workplace and not let our own personal sort of, frustrations with those people who are working with us kind of help us move forward?
Yeah, those frustrations, first and foremost, like what you're describing, that's normal. That's how people are. And when we let our emotions grow and get the best of us, we tend to make bad decisions. That's when we end up yelling at people. That's when we end up imposing our will if we're in charge. It's how we end up violating the basic foundations of a relationship. I love that description of, hey, he never yelled at anybody, he had just enough pressure in his voice. Controlling those emotions, the word that we use is detachment. When you start to get a sense that your emotions are starting to get the best of you, you are going down the path of bad decision making. I can't look back at a single time where I could not control my emotions that I made a good decision. When I get frustrated, when I get angry, I make the worst decisions in my life. And so I have to recognize that detaching from those emotions and staying in control is the only path to getting to the outcome that I want, especially when I'm talking about dealing with other people. Yelling at people is almost never a good idea. It should be absolutely one of the most rare things you ever do. I would have to do is stay in control of those emotions the entire time, understand what the red flags are, maintain that control so I can make good decisions as it applies to the other human beings that I'm involved in.
I had a friend of mine, and he's still a friend of mine. He actually runs a business where he's a restaurant consulting firm. I mean, they just go in and they basically help people kind of reorganize their restaurants. And one of the places that I was helping him reorganize, he fired a manager after a first week of observation. And he says, I don't want to just let you leave here and not understand why this is happening. He said, the reason I am firing you is I've looked through all your hires. He said, not a single one of them can replace you. He said, I know that sounds crazy. He said, you have deliberately hired people who had no chance of ever getting your job. And he said, it's a terrible form of leadership and it's a terrible form of management. At your core, one of the things you guys believe is that everybody's a leader, right? And so what you're trying to do with a team, right, is create a team of leaders, because you want somebody who actually is able to manage themselves rather than you having to manage them all the time. That's kind of the core of all of this, right?
You're exactly right. A foundational belief is that every single human being is a leader. Not just because you're a CEO or a founder or a vice president. You could be a brand new frontline individual contributor. You could have your own company of one person. Every human being that interacts with another human being is a leader. And on top of that, if you're in an organizational leadership role, let's say you're at a team or a place or a company where you have other people that do work for you, your job is to work yourself out of a job by training them to be able to replace you. And that's a little bit of a hit on our ego, and I could probably imagine what this guy's motivation was. But just to that point, is it's terrible leadership to create a situation by which the people underneath you can't grow. And so our job is to recognize everybody as a leader, to tap into that leadership capacity. And the best thing I can do is create an environment where the people subordinate and younger to me have a growth opportunity to eventually one day replace me. And by the way, like, that's what we're doing as parents, right? We are trying to create an environment by the people we are developing and growing can one day achieve what we've achieved and surpass us. That's good leadership. So I love those comments. Those are spot
on. Dave Burke, by the way, BERKE.com, and you can find him on Instagram at David Burke. So you might want to find him over there. I just wanted to kind of make sure we took care of the bureaucracy of the situation as well. The other problem too is that often when we kind of give people, when we don't give people these leadership qualities, it means that when a crisis happens, you're having to micromanage the crisis as well. That's another problem that can ensue from not creating leaders, correct?
Yeah, and that unfortunately can be a default, which is as soon as there's a problem, I'm the only one that can solve it. And you know that is unsustainable. And the whole point of decentralized command is pushing decision-making down, letting people lead and deal with the challenges they're facing at their level, and as often as possible, giving people the control, the ownership to solve problems at their level. We do not want to be micromanaging our way out of problems. It is unsustainable.
Yeah, and talk about that too in regards to, you know, how it is in the workplace in the non-crisis times, how we create that. You know, how I. By the way, Dre's got wonderful leadership qualities. There's plenty of stuff he takes care of in the morning that I don't have to do anymore, and I'm thrilled not to do it. But how do we do it? How do we go about the business of letting people know that I'm training you to replace me at some point? How do we let people know you should do this? It's what's going to make you better. It's how you're going to get better. What are those steps? What do they look like in regards to, I guess, the downtime, as it were?
Yeah, I think you've actually hit the nail on the head on several of them, which is especially during that downtime, which is an opportunity to work on development and not have to be reactive to some major problem, is telling the team, hey, I'm going to put you in a position where you can learn to lead and you can grow into a leadership role. And I think one of the things you got to do is put your ego in check and take your subordinate leaders and put them in charge of things. All too often, when we're in charge of a team, we think we make all the decisions. We think we should know everything. We think we should be the one telling other people what to do. We think we should be in charge. And the exact opposite is true. If I've got an environment, especially a safe, kind of calm environment where there's not a lot of risk to it, I'm going to push decision-making down. I'm going to get my younger leaders, and I'm going to put them in charge. And you know what? They're going to make some mistakes. They're going to screw things up, and that's okay because they're going to learn. And the more I do that, you know, quote, during the downtime or during peacetime, if you think about it from a military standpoint, the better they get, the sooner they get better. And then the more capable they are when it's not downtime, when it's not peacetime. It's better when there actually is a real crisis or a real challenge. Now I've got a team that can perform. But if I've wasted that time when there actually is a real crisis, I don't have anybody that can step up and lead. And that's a failure. I take advantage of that every moment I can, push decision-making down, tell my team I'm going to put them in leadership positions, and then let them lead. And if that means mistakes and errors, so be it. That's how people learn. That's the environment I'm trying to create.
Two things. One of our listeners on the chat actually pointed out that he did tarmac training at Miramar in '88. Just wanted to give you a shout out and say thank you for your service.
Heck yeah.
A lot of great people out there kind of talking and shouting. How do we do a postmortem, by the way? Which of course, is something that you'll often hear in entertainment. It's one of the things that we do. How do you go about the business of crisis is over? Maybe resolved even in a positive fashion, but mistakes were made, or maybe not resolved in the way you wanted it resolved, but we live to fight another day. So we have a chance to kind of sit down with our team of leaders, of hopefully future leaders. How do we kind of do that? I mean, I know one of the great Top Gun tricks, of course, is to refer to the plane rather than refer to the pilot. But what are some other techniques that we can engage in to kind of make sure different mistakes happen? We always want different mistakes as opposed to the old ones.
Yeah, the idea of repeating mistakes is so frustrating. And what you described, I think, is something that I learned that Top Gun did really, really well. You know, a postmortem, an after action, a debrief, some analysis that really picks apart the things that we did, both right and wrong, just like you said. think conceptually you have to have an organizational belief that we're going to debrief everything we do. Now, that doesn't mean you're going to spend hours and hours every single time. When I did debriefs on missions in Iraq on the ground, sometimes I had 5 minutes with a team that I could talk about a key lesson learned before we went right back out to do exactly what you said, which is make sure we don't make the same mistake. And this, I think, is connected to what you talked about at the very beginning, which is humility is central to this. Even if you have a good mission, even if you have a good outcome, even if you do a good job, I guarantee you, you can find something that you can do better, something you can improve on. This is what Top Gun did really, really well. You take these training missions, and they almost look perfect. But a good instructor would sit down and detail the analysis and find places where we could improve, identify them, teach them, and that would prevent us from making those mistakes again. It has to be part of the culture by which we are willing to admit what we did wrong, even in a good outcome. That way, if we have a situation where it's a really bad outcome and a failure, it's not some big leap to start talking about it, because we've been talking about our mistakes forever. And so I think the mindset is there's always things we can do better. There's always ways to improve. A humble leader will identify that. And that's what gets the team better and keeps them from making those same mistakes over and over. You've got to do that debrief.
A good friend of mine who was a wonderful theatrical director once told me that the whole reason that you have notes after rehearsals and you go through things and you actually don't consider the rehearsal over until all the final sort of comments are made. He said I'm actually using this term on the air. I don't care. He said the best way to stop an environment of shit talking is talk the shit in front of each other. And that's an important step, isn't it? The idea that people have got to be able to afterwards not race out the door, not go home, not clock out, but actually be willing to sit down and kind of break down what broke down, right?
Yeah, I'm going to steal that line. It's a perfect line. That's exactly what you got to do. You got to sit down and you got to talk about it, even if it's stuff you don't necessarily want to be talking about because it's mistakes or failures or errors or bad outcomes. Listen, you've got to have those conversations. You got to be open-minded to other people's feedback as well. And sometimes, you lock people in a room and you got to get that stuff out and you got to sort through it. That's what makes us all better. I love that. I'm absolutely stealing that. That's 100% right.
It's yours. It's yours because the man who said it has already shuffled off his mortal coil and is directing Shakespeare in the Kingdom of Heaven. Need to Lead is the name of the book. David Burke is the author. Dave Burke has joined us this morning. We have been thrilled to have him here. By the way, my co-host who joins me at the midpoint of the show, she can talk process until kingdom come. It's like, I love it. There's nothing better than afterwards of doing a hard day's work and then kind of sitting down and going, let's go through that, and go through the good stuff too. Final thought, right? We should go through the good stuff. We should say, here's why that worked, because then you can transplant it other places, correct?
That's exactly right. I 100% agree with that. Absolutely.
So we're just going to leave it at that and say you did a really great job today. I thought that our given I'm just kidding. I'm kidding around about that. But DaveBurke.com is where you should go. I'm telling you guys, Need to Lead and all these extreme ownership books are really worth checking out. Thank you so much for your time. You got any good weekend plans? Anything cool coming up?
I am going to All-Star Soccer weekend with my son, so that'll be a good weekend for me to watch him play some soccer.
Yeah, our general manager actually is headed up to Franklin, Tennessee this weekend because his son is actually a flag football travel team. So I get it, man. Go have fun. Go enjoy yourself. Thank you, Dave.
Hey, this is awesome. Thank you, guys.
You got it. DaveBurke.com, Instagram.com. Of course, it's David Burke over there. The name of the book is Need to Lead. Guys, we're not done yet, man. We got so much great stuff coming up. Bobby Hoffman is going to be joining us on the other side of this with The Paradox of Passion. I loved this book. You will love it too, by the way. It's like, live your best life. But here's the deal, dude. When you're living your best life, you ain't got to be fully actualized. Give yourself a break. Yep. There's some really great stuff inside of this book as well. And our good friend Jeremy Dauber, who wrote American Scary, he's got a great kids book out, Press 1 for Invasion. But most importantly, roll out the red carpet because Lawler's coming. It's freaky, feisty, flinty, really fun and ferocious Friday here on Road Gang Radio.
In a video game, if you get enough experience, you level up. And when you level up, you gain more skill. And with enough skill, you beat the boss and win the game.
Sounds a lot like trucking, doesn't it?
Except in trucking, you don't beat the boss, you become the boss. And if you want to be the boss, you gotta meet the boss.
And that boss? Carrier's Edge boss, Jane Jazraoui.
Want your drivers to level up? Carrier's Edge has the training, comprehensive safety, compliance, and best practices on one website. It's a simple subscription with no contract and no commitment. Learn more. Try it out. Level up. CarriersEdge.com.
Hey, come on! We're starting the game!
All right, I'm coming. Wait for me. CarriersEdge.com.
There was an era when truckers were out there, alone. Long rides, dark nights, miles from home. And join the gang on the beat. Nemo's Night Beat.
St. Christopher Truckers Fund provides free health and wellness programs for drivers to help prevent some common medical conditions seen in the industry. These programs include diabetes prevention, Rigs Without Cigs, a tobacco and nicotine cessation program, Healthy Habits for the Long Haul, a 12-week total body wellness program, a vaccine voucher program that includes free flu, shingles, COVID, and pneumonia vaccines, and GPS, Get Preventative Screenings. That includes free at-home cancer screening tests. These programs are available to Class A over-the-road semi-truck drivers. For more information or to register for a program, visit the St. Christopher Fund website at truckersfund.org.
Road Gang Radio. We've talked about making a living. Now let's get a life. It's Jimmy Mack and Lindsay Lawler with the best stories, the ultimate road trip, the concert of a lifetime, and a home when you're not at home. The wheels have come off, but we're still rolling.
Hey, girl and boy, hey, because we celebrate both kinds, all kinds.
All kinds.
Thank God it's Friday. I'm not going to say TGIF because I like to punch people who do that. But
Friday.
Here we are. We made it.
Friday.
It's Friday.
Friday. Oh my God! I actually was already feeling Friday yesterday when I was talking. I said, I'll talk to you next week, and you're like, "What are you talking about? We're in the show tomorrow."
We have a show tomorrow. You got to show up.
I'm like, and it was crazy because I've been looking forward to this show all week long. This really lived up to its billing, Lindsay. So far, so good. It is the greatest live transpo show in the known universe.
So far, so good. And as Dre said, let's not mess it up now. Let's not live up to the wheels have fallen off, but we're still rolling. But the wheels have fallen off, but we're still rolling. We mean it as a compliment.
I mean, I got to tell you, man, some of this discussion we've been having this morning. And by the way, the next guest, we'll get to him in a second. It falls right into the same rubric. This really is a show. I mean, it really is a show about getting your shyster together. You know what I'm saying? I mean, really putting yourself together and really having and putting yourself together in a healthy way. I don't mean like, get your stuff together and be more disciplined and live your dream.
Tough love. It's not tough love.
It's not like, you got to actualize yourself, man. You're not a fully actualized human being, baby. None of that stuff. None of that's going on here. That's disgusting. I don't like any of that stuff. I really have digged our guests this morning so far, and I'm so excited about them too.
Yeah, and this first guest, we'll do a quick preview of the show today because the first guest we're talking about, I'm excited about this. His book is called The Paradox of Passion. Paradox of Passion. That just sounds like, come on, let's go. But Jim, I feel like something that I feel like this is a guest that I didn't know that I needed until I needed him, and now that he's here, I'm like, oh my God, I needed you. Hello. Because it's great. It's not passion. People are like, but I have passion. I know what I want to do. That's not the problem. He's talking about motivation, and I think there's so many underlying things here, especially as it comes to like, why are we procrastinating? Why do we have the ADHD, which then makes us depressed because we're not doing the thing? I think this is something really underlying that he's going to be able to dive into, which I just think is very exciting. Of course, we'll have Breaker Back Talk. We're also going to talk today, Jim, about the most haunted places in all of country music.
So excited about this.
Yeah, it's fun. There's some fun stories I found on this, so that will be fun as well. Of course, we have country and western music news, and then we will also be talking with Jeremy Dauber, which you've gotten a chance to talk to him before, but this to me, correct me if I'm wrong, Jim, I've not talked to him before. This sounds like one of the smartest guys that is also probably one of the kindest and most down-to-earth and like obviously well-read and intelligent, but that can be Harvard and Oxford and a Columbia professor, but then also be like, I'm going to write a children's book about an alien and a goof. I'm going to write a children's book about an alien invasion. Like, that's my kind of person. Like, teach me without telling me you're teaching me.
Yeah, his book on American Scary is, I think, the definitive book about why American horror is different than ghost stories and spook stories all around the rest of the world. Of course, all stories are different, but he really explained it why, and he did it in a way that wasn't like, oh my God, can we be more dry or boring? It was so accessible and so much fun, and explained how important farm life is in order to understanding what is scary to an American, and then to turn around and have this wonderful book for kids of all ages, where basically it's like, I mean, anybody who grew up loving stuff like Invaders from Mars, Invasion of the Body Snatchers, or wants a kid's version of They Live, this is the book for 'em, man. I mean, we got great stuff this morning. It's all coming together.
It's all coming together. I love when a plan comes together, Jim.
Oh,
I think we should dive into it. I think we should get there. Do you?
I really do too. Would you like me to do the intro here? Or would you like to kind of take care of this?
I would love to take care of it, if that's all right with you.
Oh, no, knock yourself out. Here we go.
Is that all right?
No, go on.
All right. Dre, we got our next guest locked and loaded.
Yeah, we do.
Beautiful, beautiful thing. Okay, guys, join us, as we've already alluded to and been alluding to leading up to this guest, is someone, as I just mentioned, that I've been waiting to talk to without even realizing it. So Dr. Bobby Hoffman, he's an associate professor at the University of Central Florida who specializes in motivation science. Okay, guys, this is officially my new favorite term. He studies the mysteries of human behavior, why we do what we do, or maybe more importantly, why we don't do what we know we want to do. That's what I want to talk about. Dr. Hoffman has over 20 years of experience in HR management and performance consulting for powerhouse organizations like GE, NBC, KPMG, and the NBA. And he's authored more than 100 publications in education, psychology, and leadership. He also, by the way, writes the incredibly popular Motivate blog for Psychology Today, which has over 1.2 million views and growing. That number is probably way bigger even now. And so, guys, his brand new book, Paradox of Passion, which just came out yesterday, very exciting. It dives into how our culture's obsession with finding your passion might actually be holding us back. Spoiler alert, it might be holding us back. So as someone who's never lacked passion, but often struggles with procrastination, I have to say this might be the most important conversation I've had in a while. So please make welcome to the show our new friend, soon to be yours, Dr. Bobby Hoffman. Good morning.